ask you a question. I don't know if you've ever been asked politically. You know, everyone you come up to, people come, PVD, when you going to run? When you going to run? You're like, would love to. Can't. Born in Iran, made it America, can't do it. So, but I want to do a hypothetical game right now with PVD. Let's say PVD is running for president. Let's say you win. Let's dream. You got to pick your cabinet. Have you ever thought about who would be on your cabinet?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not just talking your VP. I want to know who would PVD's vice president pick? Your chief of staff? Your attorney general? Who you're sending over to be the UN? You know, who's your CIA? And then the secretaries, right? Secretary of State, Blinken, Treasury, Yellen, Pete Buttigieg, he's doing transportation. Vinny's favorite guy, Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security, education, right? So if you can kind of put your top 10 list, who's your VP, who's your chief of staff? By the way, this can be politically, you know, you can have a friend, whoever you want. You know, if you want to have your press secretary be Vinny, you know, we could get him a job. Who would press secretary? Who would you pick?
He would be the angry patriot press secretary. It would be the most entertaining press secretary of all time. Every day he'd be going viral.
Hey, you! No, you're done.
Yeah. He would be funny. No, you know what it is? My mind, like when I go into insurance, I think about who I already have access to that can come and help me. Then I think about what I know nothing about the space that I need to go find, right? And then who do I have right now that knows the people that I need to go find that they think highly of, right? So politics, I haven't even thought about that at all whatsoever. So I would probably make a list of people that I trust the most, and we would have a meeting with them first. Would Tom probably have a role? Absolutely. Tom would be in there doing something when we're making some moves. But I haven't thought that far enough. I would have my guys sit together. Then I would have multiple meetings, conversations, a lot of phone calls, a lot of sit-downs, a lot of dinners, a lot of case study types of questions. How would you do this, and how would you do that, and how would you do this? This week, we're interviewing a lot of executive producers for the PBD podcast, and I've gone through a lot of interviews. And I'm sitting in these interviews, and I'm listening to these guys, and they'll say, my background is this, and my background is that, and I've been at X, Y. And by the way, they've been at some of the biggest companies in the world when it comes down to being the EPs of podcasts. And I'll say, okay, basic question. Tell me a top 10 podcast you've ever managed. I never have. However, let me tell you what I've done. And I did this, and I did that, and I did this. And their salaries, they're expecting a lot of money to be paid for these EPs. Then I'll say, okay, I got another question for you. What's that? Can you do me a favor and show me on Creator Studios on YouTube what the most important data is to look at? Oh, I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, I can't hire an EP at a level that doesn't know YouTube. I'm not going to teach you. You're supposed to teach me. Many years ago, I hired somebody on the marketing side, and I was teaching him stuff about social media. I'm like, why am I paying you the amount that I'm paying you for me to teach you about social media? So, no, I would need to bring people in and then asking questions if they're true believers based on values and principles. I would want to know what their motivation would be individually, selfishly, to see what they would like out of it. And then based on that, you would, ask a lot of board, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? And then hopefully you'll put a team together. But if that situation ever came about, you would be thinking about that 2 years before that job actually becomes a reality. And it doesn't consume any of my mind right now.
So Tom's a potential consigliere, chief of staff,
an
kind
absolute person that would be on the inside.
We've interviewed, or you've interviewed a lot of political guys. Where would someone like a Vivek fit on a PBD cabinet?
Vivek wouldn't need a cabinet. Vivek would be the guy. Vivek is a one. No, Vivek is a guy, like the other day, Vivek and I, we had a conversation, and he asked me to be considered to sit on the board of BuzzFeed. And this was private. Him and I have been talking about this for a while because he just bought nearly 10% of the company. And then they wrote about it all over the place. And then people are messaging me saying, you're going to be sitting on the BuzzFeed. I said, it's being recommended now that it's public being spoken about. But yeah, I wouldn't mind, I'd probably bring different kind of a lens to a brand like BuzzFeed. No, Vivek is a one. Ones play a different role. The ones in the world you talk to behind closed doors on strategy and talk and hopefully support. the ones are not going to be on the cabinet. Vivek is a guy that in 2028, I'm telling you, I think he's the number one candidate on the conservative side.
Yeah, you said he's the number one draft pick.
He's the number one draft pick.
There. Okay.
I think the only reason he got only 7% is because if Trump wasn't in there, all the MAGA would go to him. The MAGA base wouldn't go to DeSantis. They would go to Vivek. Not all of it, but I think 70% of it would go to Vivek.
Fully agree. 2028, it's completely wide open, and he's certainly at that. Last question. This is, you say, only the paranoid survive, but also the future looks bright. You said on the podcast today, you're 51 here, also here. So I want to ask you a two-part question. Okay, let's just say I think Trump's going to be the guy this year. I think he's the favorite. I mean, we saw Biden's odds plummet. We're always checking Vegas. Let's just say somehow Trump doesn't win. If it's fair, legitimate, everything, somehow, how ugly could it get? That's A. But B, even if he wins, I don't think all of a sudden, all right, unicorns, rainbows, everything. I mean, the rainbow's going to probably be gone, if you know what I mean. But I don't think the country's still going to be divided. 2028, what do you need to see from a candidate to be the Doug? Which stands for Diffuse Unified Glue. I say this all the time. I want to get some candidate to get to 60% where we're not battling to almost for half the country like you. So how ugly could it get? But then how optimistic do you see America 2028?
So if Trump loses,
how ugly could it get?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So let's go through it. In the question that you're asking, because we have to qualify it properly, there is no instance where YouTube or Google suppresses a video or takes it down. Like, let's just say Joe interviews Trump in the third week of October, and the video is on track to get 100 million views. First ever podcast to get 100 million views. And YouTube takes it off, okay, takes it down. If there's no stories like that, okay, if there's no stories of what they did with New York Post, if there's no stories of Apple accidentally takes Twitter off the app for a week of the last week of election, if there's nothing like that happens, and if we are able to count the votes that night and we don't say we need another week or 2 weeks to count, so we find out that night the way we typically have found out who the president is, and all of that is still legal and Trump wins, with the likelihood of that happening is less than 1%. If that happens, I think he's going to concede. He doesn't have a choice but to concede and move on. But the likelihood of that happening is less than 1%. Now let's go to the other side. If Trump wins, what will happen? I think the community of people that are going to lose their shit, that scream instead of try to solve problems, they're going to do their thing. I think, the people on the left to try to play the protesting game, the BLM rights, all that stuff is not going to work. The reason why it's not going to work this time is because it's only one term. So what is Soros doing? You're not trying to get him out. He's only got one term. Trump is probably going to replace 2 more seats. So
on the Supreme Court, you're saying?
On the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court could end up being 8-1, maybe 7-2, because, Clarence is not getting any younger. So he's going to have to, but it'll probably be 7-2 or maybe stay at 6-3, but a solid 6-3, like long-term 6-3. Roe v. Wade, that community is going to flip. I think the exodus of liberals leaving red states who may have different kind of Roe versus Wade type of policies for abortion, there will be a mass exodus of red states, of people going to blue states. So the blue states are going to attract more Karens that are going to go to their states.
Karens.
Which is great. It's a safe place for them. I think there's going to be even more exodus of business owners leaving blue states. As bad as it is right now, it's going to get worse. And I had this guy, Fort Turning, the guy Neil Howe, the author of it. In 1997, December 29, they came with this book called Fort Turning. They made 5 predictions. One of them was a massive pandemic. One of them was a market crash. One of them was that Russia's going to invade one of the neighboring, U.S. Soviet Union countries like Ukraine. Another prediction they made, the only one that they made that hasn't happened yet in the Fort Turning, which starts 2008 to late 2020 or early 2030, is a civil war in America, okay? That's their prediction. This is not mine. That's their prediction. And the guy goes around and I said, Civil War? He says, Civil War. He says, like, have you ever heard of Barbara F. Walter, who wrote a book called The Next Civil War? I said, no, what about it? she goes to all the countries that had civil wars and interviews the people about civil war. Data. And you know what the number one common answer was amongst everybody? Not a single person ever saw it coming. No country that went through a civil war ever thought it would happen to them. And then it happened to them. So I think, somehow, some way, some states are going to go where they're like, I don't even think this is cool and da-da-da-da-da. No problem. Now, who you blame that on? Is that Russia want? You think other countries want America to have 50 states? You think they would prefer, EU had what, Brexit type of a situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
The UK.
The EU probably doesn't like Brexit, but the rest of the rest of the world is like, I'm kind of glad that kind of happened, right? So maybe other people look at us. They look at us the way we look at EU. They're like, okay, California is France. All right, what if 50 states becomes 49? What if it becomes 48? What if it becomes 46? What if it becomes 43? What makes you think we're always going to be 50 states? So what makes anybody think we're going to stay 50 states forever? So I think that is a possibility. Not saying it could happen. I'm saying it's a possibility. But this guy, this author said, never in the history of America have we gone through the fourth turning without a major war. Never. He says it's never happened. I said, so are you predicting? He said, I never said that. I said, all I'm telling you, in the history of America, never have we gone through the cycles of four turnings, and we've never had a war in the fourth turning. This will be the first time if it doesn't happen. So I think only the paranoid survive, and you just have to be ready because it could get crazy and ugly fast. The same way when you and I are sitting here with Vinny and we're watching the debate, we're like, in the first 10 seconds, we look at each other, we're
oh
like,
my God, what is happening here?
That thing that Leo goes like this, what was that like? I don't know if you ever seen that Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie. I think it's from
when he's pointing, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, what just happened here, right? And old age is sudden.
Yeah.
You ever been to a bar? Everything's good, and then a small fight leads into a big fight, leads into cops showing up, leads into shooting, leads into crazy shit happening, and from 0 to somebody getting shot, stabbed, it's like how long? 2.5 minutes?
Yeah.
48 seconds? If it goes to that point, it's going to go so fast, you won't even feel it.
Well, it's like, you ever see the movie Anchorman?
Yeah.
When they go, wow, that escalated quickly.
Said.
You stabbed a man with a trident.
Yeah.
You should lay low for a little while right there, buddy. Wow. Black Panther, Sex Panther, yeah. But let's just hope that cooler heads prevail, and America's such an amazing place. And to even think about that, rattles my cage a little bit. But you always say, you can't be that naive. Adam, you can't be that naive. I'm a little naive on this, but let's hope Americans don't want to kill each other. Whoa, whoa, whoa. If you like that one, click right here to watch the full SOSCAST. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.